Hey guys, and welcome to the Haunted Radio Show, the only YouTube channel guaranteed to promote paranormal activity wherever you might be. I'm your host, Luke Marone, and today is Wednesday, the 13th, which doesn't sound that great, but evidently this has been 10 years to the day since the reboot of Friday the 13th was released. But that doesn't really sound right to me. I think it was more like in the summer. I don't know. I probably should have looked that up. I got the year right. And I read somewhere else that it was 10 years, so I'm just going with it. So it's whoever wrote that article's fault, not mine, if I'm incorrect about that. Alright, so 10 years ago, we got the 12th Friday the 13th movie, if you're counting Freddy vs. Jason, which I believe everybody does. They count as a Nightmare on Elm Street movie as well. And this is a series that I really like. I'm a huge fan of Jason Voorhees as a character. Honestly, that kind of makes the movies for me, because I'll be the first to admit that not a lot of them are good. In fact, most of them are downright terrible. I might make a future video where I talk at length about where I rank all these movies, but I may not, because so many of them are just kind of equally at the bottom of the list, and then a few of them are equally at the top of the list. Part 4, the final chapter, Part 6, Jason Lives, and Part 10, Jason X. Those three are pretty much interchangeable as my top three. Depending on the day, I like Jason Lives is my favorite. Or maybe it's a Wednesday, so Jason X is my favorite. It just kind of varies. But those three movies, I feel, especially Jason Lives and Jason X, really embrace the sort of goofy nature of these movies. And they don't take themselves too seriously. They just have fun making a trashy slasher movie. And that's what these movies are. Nobody's going to nominate one of these things for Best Screenwriter or Best Picture. Nobody cares about that. They just want to see Jason do some killing. So that's what you're going into it for. That's what you're getting. I think the movies are very entertaining. Like I said, they don't take themselves very seriously. Just the series as a whole, it's just fun. Horror slasher movies especially are supposed to just be fun, sort of escapist entertainment, and these absolutely fit the bill. The reboot, I would say, falls more on the side of I like it. I would say it's number 4 as far as the movies that I like, and then pretty much everything else just falls to the bottom. But I do really like this version of Jason that is introduced in the reboot. So I'm gonna get into a little bit more detail about the reboot. I'm not gonna put a spoiler warning because it's 10 years old, but I'm just giving a little bit of background before I kind of dive into what I do like, what I don't like, yada yada. Basically the point of this episode. Alright, so the reboot is released in 2009. It's directed by Marcus Nispel, who also directed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot, which it's a shame. You're gonna see this episode is number 5, and you won't see a number 4 on my channel. Or you might, but it's like a private video. I didn't really know how to delete it, so I just made it private. I'm learning how to YouTube. But I spent a good 25 minutes talking about the reboot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre and how it compares to the original. And I'm going to do that in a live stream later tonight, which is actually Tuesday. So hopefully maybe you've seen that before you're listening to this video. I'm not sure. I've got a small audience right now. I'm trying to build it up, so ideally in a little bit everybody's gonna kind of see all these videos at like the same time because they're all gonna be out. Where was I? Anyway, so that Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot, long story short, I think it's one of the most perfect slasher movies ever. And people would lead you to believe that's kind of heresy. Is it heresy or hearsay? Or are they two different things? I don't know. I don't edit this thing, so I'm gonna sound like a buffoon. Regardless, it's frowned upon to say it's better than the original, but I truly believe it is. I think I can make a compelling case. So props to Marcus Nispel. So this Friday the 13th reboot, to get back to the actual subject of this video, produced for $19 million. So we're like in the higher budget of this series. And it made $92.7 million. So obviously that's a hit. I believe that's factoring in, I'm not sure if that's factoring in like marketing kind of costs, but I mean, it had to have, that had to have made a ton of money. So it's surprising to me that we never got a sequel. And right now, the rights to the series are kind of tied up in legal battles, so it's gonna be a little while before we get back to that. But this is kind of interesting. Me and my brother started writing a script for our own version of Friday the 13th. What we like, if it was just the dream job, we could do whatever we wanted. This script is what we would want the 13th Friday movie to be. And that's another thing that's exciting about the next one when we get around to it. It's going to be the 13th one in a series where 13 is part of the title. So, very exciting. But one of the things I decided immediately was let's set it in the winter, because that's already that small adjustment. We're setting it apart from all of the other movies. No matter what we rip off next, it's going to be unique. And apparently the sequel to this movie was going to be set in the winter, so that would have been exciting to see. This reboot starred Jared Padalecki and a bunch of other people. He's the only cast member I wrote down because he's kind of a big name. Danielle Panabaker from The Flash is also in this movie. I forget the guy's name who played Trent, but he played the same character in the first Transformers movie. Both of these movies were produced by Michael Bay, so I think that's kind of interesting. Got a little bit of a shared universe between Transformers and Friday the 13th. So I don't know, that's just kind of like a fun connective tissue kind of thing. Importantly, last cast member I got written down here is Derek Mears, who played Jason Voorhees in this movie. And the best thing about this movie is their interpretation of Jason. He's fast, he's strong, he's intelligent. I wouldn't say he's necessarily super dumb in all the other movies, but it seems like he's making smarter like hunting decisions when he's going after the teens in this movie. He first shows up in the prologue, which is a good like 20 minutes. He's wearing the bag over his head like he was in part 2. This reboot kind of combines the first 3 movies. maybe the fourth a little bit. It's kind of a loose reimagining of the first like storyline that was covered in the original series, um, where Jason was still alive and whatnot before he became a zombie. He gets his mask uh, not quite halfway through into the movie. Whether he's wearing the mask, the hockey mask, or the bag over his head, he's very intimidating. He's got this awesome jacket that I really like. Derek Mears is a huge dude, super fit. And I mean, this Jason has very quick movements. He's not the slow, lumbering kind of 80s slasher killer that we typically associate with the character. He's very fast, he's running at people, he's setting traps. He's a very different take on Jason. And I don't think when this movie came out, people really appreciated just how different this take was on the character. Um, in the 30 years he had been around up to this point, they really had never done anything quite like this. Even when he was running around in the first couple of movies, he's kind of treated like a buffoon. The final girl would kind of like. There's a scene in part two where Ginny kicks him in the balls and he topples over. He wasn't as intimidating. In this movie, and I think this is true of a lot of those 2000s horror movie remakes, Rob Zombie's Halloween, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, even Nightmare on Elm Street, which is god awful. That one I will agree with everybody else on. That movie sucks. Big old dick. They managed to make the killers look way more intimidating than they had been in the past. So this extends to Friday the 13th as well. This Jason is the reason you watch the movie. The kills are pretty good. You get to see a Jason that's very unique and very scary. Arguably the first time in any of these movies that Jason Voorhees has been legitimately terrifying, just because of how formidable and yet human he is. Best part of the movie. And that's what elevates this movie above the rest. And then we have everything else in the movie. It's very by the numbers. It's got a whole host of characters that are just very, very unlikable. Actually, the characters in the opening prologue segment where Jason has the bag over his head are actually pretty entertaining characters. If we had stuck with them or characters like them for the rest of the movie, I would probably rank this higher. Not that I can necessarily go too much higher. It just, instead of be my 3 interchangeable favorites, it would be my 4 interchangeable favorites. But once you're introduced to the main cast, you get all these teen tropes and stereotypes that had, to the screenwriter's credit, they've been used in previous Friday the 13th movies, but to an extent you could argue that all those people in previous films were actually friends. They kind of rag on each other, but they're legitimately friends. In this movie, it seems like none of these people really want to be hanging out with each other. Except for like the 2 stoner characters who are actually very entertaining. Especially Trent, and the girl he ends up fucking that isn't his girlfriend. His girlfriend is Danielle Panabaker, and she just seems sick of him all the time. Then there's these 2 friends. I can't even remember the names. If you've seen the movie, they're the ones that get killed out on the lake during the boat sequence. Nobody knows why these characters are here. No one gets along. No one likes each other, and it takes me out of the movie to an extent to just see people who don't like each other hanging out. I've been camping with my friends. We rag on each other, but it's all in good fun. If I was camping with these people, I'd just be like, fuck it, I'm leaving. I'm not having a good time. It doesn't matter how much beer or weed there is. Like, I don't want to be around these people. I hope somebody stabs me in the back with an axe, which does happen to one of the best characters. To the filmmaker's credit, again, Trent, who I can only remember his name because I just hated him so much. He gets a really brutal death, very graphically killed, very entertaining. So maybe that's what they were going for. Like, you want to hate these characters so much that it's like fun to watch them die. But I feel like you can do that with characters you like as well. That's my opinion. That's my. Those are my thoughts on the 2009 Friday the 13th reboot. I would say overall I liked it. So on this 10th anniversary, I'm probably gonna check it out again. Uh, yeah, maybe I'll live tweet it to all 10 of my followers. I say that facetiously, but I am grateful that I have 10 followers. I'm working on getting this channel built up. I want to build a community for horror fans here, especially slasher horror fans. And yeah, I submitted my Patreon for review today. It got the A-OK. So I'm determining when the best time to launch that is. I don't know. The earliest I would launch it is next Monday. I want to, I don't know, just starting on a Monday seems right. But I'm not sure if it's advisable to start it, halfway through the month, or I should just wait for next month and start it then. If anybody has any feedback about that, let me know. Otherwise, you can contact me here in the comments. You can contact me on Twitter. That's at showhaunted. Or you can email me at hauntedradioshow@gmail.com. Alright, so that is my episode talking about Friday the 13th, the remake. Let me know what you guys thought about it. Let me know what you want to see in the next Friday the 13th movie. I'll have an episode where I talk all about that. Alright? Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. New videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Ideally, I fucked up the episode on this past Monday. Ideally, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Yeah, so talk to you guys later. Peace out.